Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Blossom Heron Backyard sessions today, very kindly sponsored by Bank of Ireland. It's lovely to be here. I can't believe it's 3 o'clock already. For those of you in the audience who've picked up awards, congratulations. I know there's lots of lovely glass floating around, and I know for others you haven't quite made it to your category yet. So between now and the end of the afternoon, best of luck with that. But it's also important to remember that you're all finalists here, so you are already winners either way. And like, what an amazing community we have. The conversations already today, the network, the exchanging of ideas, etc., is the very reason why BLOS exists, and the very reason why this backyard exists, actually, because we're all trying to help each other, educate each other, and talk about the big topics. And branding is one of those. And I have the very fortunate job to share and to MC this session today. And I've got a fantastic panel here as well, which I'm going to introduce you to very shortly. So just to say, my own name is Annie Dunn. I run a food consultancy business called The Art of Great Food. I live in Cavan, but I have spent 10 years abroad in London working for the iconic Harrods greengrocers in Knightsbridge, and before that I was also in retail here in Ireland and in manufacturing, so kind of sat on both ends of the table. Two things to sort of plug. Firstly, for those who know me, I'm an avid cold water swimmer, and a couple of years ago I had this idea that we should do a BLOS chili dip. So this is our third year. So I'm encouraging all of those, whether you've brought a swimming costume or not, you're coming to Ventry Beach with us tomorrow morning. And the aim is to really increase the numbers from last year's. I know, looking out at the weather this afternoon, you're thinking, not a chance am I going to strip off and get into the sea. And safety comes first. Of course it does. But if you're up in the morning and you're going to need that lovely cold water refreshment ahead of tomorrow's activities, join us 8 a.m. in Ventry Beach. That's my plug done. On to today's session. So, as I said, I've got a fantastic panel, and we are talking about branding. So I'm going to allow each of you to introduce yourselves, a little bit about what you do, what your business represents, and then I'm going to ask you to just share a moment where a particular visual, it could be a specific brand or product or photo, that just really kind of got you, that impacted you, that made an impression on you. Anne, I'll start with you first.
Hi everyone, my name's Anne Rudden. I'm owner and founder of Anya's Handmade Chocolates. We're based in Stradone Village, County Cavan, and I'm another Cavan woman, so up Cavan today. Anya's Handmade Chocolate has been in business for 25 years, and we're an award-winning chocolate manufacturer. We produce handmade chocolates, impulse gift boxes under our own brand, and we do private label for many supermarkets in Ireland, and we sell into retail, corporate and pharmaceutical and food service as well. We've won many awards for our products, from Great Taste to many BLOS Q awards, and all our products are gluten-free. And we have our full on-site facility in Stradone, and we're BRC Grade A accreditation, and we're on our next phase of business growth as well.
Wow, isn't that amazing? 25 years in business. Like, honestly, that is just it deserves a round of applause. Congratulations. And I'm sure many more years to come as well. Lorraine, welcome.
Thank you. I'm Lorraine Cox from Lorraine Cox Photography, and I'm a BLOS virgin, I was told last night. I was walking around on my own for about an hour last night, and then got introduced to some other lovely people, and I think we've made some friends here now. But my business is, I'm a food photographer. I'm based in Wicklow, but I also do remote shoots. So I have worked with a few of the BLOS winners as well. And when I say a remote shoot, it's basically where the products can be sent to my home studio. So, I do that. I do a little bit of video content as well, sometimes as like an extra. But yeah,
great.
That's me.
And I forgot to ask Anne the answer to the question.
Oh, yeah.
One particular visual, and I'm sure it doesn't have to be a photograph.
Yeah, it's a tough one to pick one, but I think that when I'm doing like a shoot for somebody, it's usually like a series of images, so that they all tie in together, so that if you're putting them up on social media, they will all have like a consistent look, and whether that's the branding colours, whether it's like tying in different characters, even people, bringing that human element in. It's more kind of the emotion that you're evoking from the photography.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Anita, welcome. Not a virgin to Bloss.
No, not a virgin to Bloss. Hi, my name's Anita Kerr. I'm a brand strategist with New World. We're a branding agency, and I was just listening to Anya talking about 25 years in business. We're 36 years in business, which is kind of like, when you think of it, you're like, wow. So we were one of the first branding agencies in Ireland. My job is such a pleasure because I'm just a very nosy person. And that's what branding is all about. For us, it's about getting underneath the bonnet, digging down and finding out all about you, and then using that as a really strong foundation to build your brand upon.
Brilliant. And any particular visual that stands out to you?
Well, I was thinking about that. We had the privilege of working with Glenisc, and back in the day, Glenisc was a challenger brand, and it was up against a lot of big, heavy hitters. And what we did was we worked with them, and they have a very iconic blue. And I think when you're looking at disrupting the category and you don't have a lot of, budget, you have to be clever about it. So the blue was something that was not kind of food related. It doesn't tend to be a foodie colour. So they were very brave. They chose that blue and they ran with it. So when you saw the brand in the refrigerators, it was just boom, you know what I mean? So it's a kind of a way of showing how you can actually make your budget work a little bit more for you.
Brilliant. Just to get a gauge in the room, how many people are brand owners? Just raise your hand. You're a brand owner? Okay, interesting. Everybody actually owns their own brand as well. So what we talk about today, just to bring it back to your own personal brand, is as important. So Anita's going to talk us through some of the exercises that they use, and I think it's really important to take that away and just use it for your own personal brand as well as the brand that you're trying to sell. So on that note, Anita, before we even get into visuals, there's a whole sort of part of the process that sort of starts the visual process going, which is about almost getting under the bonnet and understanding your why in business, and then trying to really find what's your uniqueness, or your onlyness is the term that you like to use.
Yeah.
So maybe just talk us through how you would sort of tackle that for a brand, either in evolution or brand new.
Yeah. Well, we do call it your onlyness, and everybody has their onlyness, and every brand has their onlyness. And really what that is, it's your DNA. It's kind of what runs through you. It's what you stand for. It's what you believe in. And, part of the brand strategy process would be to do a brand workshop. And in that brand workshop, what we would do is we do a series of exercises that kind of draws out all that information. We call it brand truths. And the whole essence of branding is to be true to yourself and be truthful, because a good brand is an honest brand. If you're not honest to yourself, your customer isn't going to trust you. So we would go through a lot of different exercises. It's kind of like a SWOT. If you think of a business SWOT, we would do a brand SWOT. So what you're doing is you're looking at your strengths. What are your strengths? What are those really, really, what can you stand over? What can you, hand on your heart, say, we're really, really good at this? And I know it's not rocket science, you know what I mean, but it's really important. And what sometimes happens is that if you're caught up in the day-to-day, or if sometimes what happens is that there's something that's really amazing about you, but you don't think that, you know what I mean? So it takes an agency to actually kind of draw that out as well. So things that you take for granted, the consumer might think that's amazing. So we would look at the strengths, look at your weaknesses as well, what's not working, what makes you vulnerable. And it's just really good to have that out on the table. Another thing that people don't really think about as well is those no-go areas. What do you not want to be? Where do you not want to go? And that's almost as important as the yeses. So that essentially that's the beginning of the foundation. What we would do then is we would take all of that information and build a series of what we call brand truths. And they're really, your key USPs. What we would also do then is look at your brand personality, and every brand, just like every person, has a personality. So, you know, your brand could be, it could be cheeky, it could be sexy, it could be, you know, there's, you know, lots of different personality traits. So what we would do is we would tease those out as well. And then ultimately what we're doing is we are building a brand story for you, a unique brand story that nobody else can own, that is truly, you know, it's truly what you are and your DNA. That's what you have to start with before you even look at visuals, at photography, etc. But also, I mean, for Lorraine, you know, when we build that brand story, we will hand it over, and that kind of informs the creative process for
Brilliant.
Lorraine.
Definitely.
And I'm going to jump on to Anne now, because Anne's a live example of having, I suppose, evolved your brand. Anne, you've been in business for 25 years, and through a program, and again, I'm not, I'm informing you all in the room that this program exists to really help to build brands for small businesses. And through Blosna Heron and through SkillNet Ireland and funding that Taste for Success secures, we've had a pilot programme run last year and successfully run again this year, where we've taken Anne and 3 other brands through the programme to help to really I suppose, build exactly what you've been talking about, Anita, and to position it in a place where it really starts to stand out. It may have stood out at a point in time, but now it's really standing out again. We're hoping to run the programme again next year, so if you are interested, come and talk to any of us here on the panel to find out a bit more details. But just picking up on what you said, Anita, and moving to yourself, Anne, just talk us through what did that mean for you, having gone through that process. What did you learn? What did it mean for the brand? And how have you come to having the new brand here today?
Well, for Anya's Handmade Chocolate, you know, our brand was very, very commercial. And I suppose on the supermarket shelf, you know, people thought we were probably a very, very big company. And what we wanted to do was to show in our brand and explain the story, you know, of the true brand of Anya's Handmade Chocolate, which is like a local Irish chocolatier, handmade in County Cavan, using really, really natural ingredients. But it was never portrayed in the old brand, where in the new brand and now it's more personal. It's personal to our consumer. We know our consumer. But also, like, the old brand grew with me, where the new brand is more modern. It's on the supermarket shelf. It's so busy out there for brands to, number one, get, you know, space on the supermarket shelf, but also for export. It's a busy, busy marketplace. You need to stand out, but you have to explain your story in your packaging, and you only have a few minutes to do that.
And was there one sort of visual decision in that journey that really stands out to you as the thing that sort of, I don't know, turned the dial a little for you?
Well, I suppose the biggest thing was the new logo.
Yeah.
And the standout of it. And, you know, it was really, you know, when you look
have a
at
sample
it,
of the old and the new.
Yeah, so the old logo was probably, it didn't say it was Irish. Maybe some people said it didn't look Irish, where this is more Celtic looking. So, and it's, you know, it explains and it's more personal and it looks handmade. This looked like it was mass produced in a factory in France.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, that's a great example. And Lorraine, you talk about photography, and sorry, we've been talking about photography and the role of it and how important it is. What are the sort of techniques that you use to bring the story to life through a visual cue?
Well, normally if like me and my client decide we're going to start working together, I would send them, I call it an apps survey. So it's just like a little questionnaire, and it's audience, purpose, platform, style.
Audience,
Purpose, platform, style. And that basically brings the creative brief together. You know, so who's your audience? What's the platform? Is it social media? Is it for web? Is it for press releases? Like, there's so many different ways you can use photography. It's not just like you want them to kind of go everywhere, you know? You want to have multi-uses for them, I suppose.
Totally, and we're all working on very small budgets,
Yeah.
so it's you want to use your money wisely.
Yeah, the more planning, like most of the work is done before the shoot, to be honest. It's back and forth a
Okay.
few times until we have all the little details ironed out. So on shoot day, everything just goes really smooth. So, there's a process of back and forth. And yeah, you have to really know your brand before you hire a photographer. You're wasting your money.
Okay.
You really are.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what type of brands do you work with, Lorraine? And how do you, create that relationship? What makes a good sort of project brief?
Yeah, I suppose I work with a lot of product-based companies. Obviously, one particular brand that I worked with recently was Oshi's Sushi. I don't know whether Kira is here. I know she's around somewhere today.
Brilliant.
But they hadn't had they're such a successful business, but they hadn't had professional images done in a long time actually.
Okay.
And when I looked, I couldn't find on their Instagram page really good pictures of the sushi. I was like, where is the sushi? I just can't see it. I can't see the freshness, the vibrancy. So when she came to my home studio. Now, we had been back and forth, of course, as well. But when she spoke to me about her brand, it was like I wasn't seeing any of that on her social media, She was talking about the versatility, the healthy option, how people use it as a post-fuel kind of workout thing. So we kind of did loads with that particular shoot. We did product shots. We even did a picnic shoot. We did.
Yeah.
I had a model who dressed up in sports gear, and we did because she wanted to get that versatility and the takeaway. Most people take it away and eat it, But from one shoot, it was just amazing what we got. But
And a shoot would take how long, just in terms
that
of
was a full day
full
shoot.
day.
Now we did have a little extra half day, which was a little bit of extra, but that was to get the picnic shoot.
Okay.
We needed the good weather,
Weather
for that,
dependent.
obviously. But yeah, it really was magic that because you're showing the product, how it's being used, people are eating it. We had lovely dappled light. I have a nice garden outside where I do some of my shoots, and it just gave a bit of life to the product. Do you know that way? Yeah, it really did.
I think we have Lorraine to blame for being hungry, don't we? Those drools and drips and crunchy bits, and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm not really hungry, but now I am that I've seen it.
It is the detail. It's the detail.
We're blaming you for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every little detail is worked on in post-production. So you wouldn't believe how much editing goes in to just bring out the little highlights of the food,
And it's a real skill, it
Yeah.
really is. I've been part of several photo shoots over the years, and honestly, it's those intricate details that makes the difference from a good photograph to being a really great photograph.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Very good. And Anne, just tell us a little bit about with the rebranding, because it's new, it's sort of in the market, kind of you're sort of running out the old and the new is starting to appear now. What has it done for you in terms of your business, in terms of opportunities, maybe discussions with buyers? What's happened over the last couple of months?
On our own brand, our sales would be up 10% in the stores we supply. And we have also, since the relaunch at Bloom, we've been in discussions with a retailer in Ireland to get major listings with our brand.
Fantastic. So it has really helped
Yeah.
stand out. Yeah, and good luck with that, and I hope it does come to fruition. I've no doubt it absolutely will. Anita, going back then to just, I suppose, that early part of the strategy, and then you're sort of into visual design. So just talk us through what are the elements to sort of bring a brand from where it had been to where it is visually, and how does that process work?
Okay. Well, normally the way the process works, once we have the brand strategy in place, then that's when the creative elements come through. So the brand strategy is like the blueprint, really, for the creative process. So it can be anything from, looking at colorways, particularly with Anya's chocolates. What we looked at is how do we get that stand out on shelf? And we looked at the colorways, and we would call it the colors almost oscillate, if you know what I mean. So when you're looking at it, we used clashing colours to actually really get huge shelf impact. And that would be, you know, like a kind of a design kind of, I suppose, skill or trait. There's also other ways as well, like we would look at all the different brand touch points. What we did with Anya's Chocolates, we looked at that lovely kind of, because it's all about that handmade feel, what we did was we created a very delicate kind of elegant ribbon that made it a little bit more premium. We also looked at focusing in on the fact that this handmade, and it was Anne's recipes, so you can see there's a little bit of scripted text here to make it feel like it's actually an authentic recipe. So there's lots of little ways that you can actually, you know, look at, you know, bringing the design to life.
And that personality, as you said, is
absolutely
really
key,
important.
because there's so many different parts of packaging that you can talk to the consumer with, even down to back of pack. What are you saying back of pack? Is there a graphic that represents the brand? There's lots of different touch points in terms of that.
And just on that point, then, touch points, I mean, how do you keep your consistency? How do you turn up consistently the same? And I find that, you know, that can be challenging. It can sometimes work out, sometimes it's not, and we're showing up in so many different places. You know, I'm looking for a brand example in the audience of somebody who's wearing their brand, you know, on their jackets, to, you know, being online, to being on TikTok. If you were at the last session, you know, it's all about TikTok at the moment. How do I turn up in TikTok with my brand Blue Book?
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny. We were talking about that just before, and I was saying that Anne is very much on brand today because she is wearing her hero colour. And I think it is, you've hit the nail on the head, it's consistency. And I mean, in terms of, you know, it can get very tricky in terms of the print process as well. If you're using different substrates, you know, getting the colours to match can be really difficult. So you might see a colour that's on packaging and then it may be a different colour on a website or a pop-up stand. So consistency is really important, and that's where brand guidelines are very important. If you have your brand guidelines, then you can literally hand that over to whoever you need to hand it over to, a web agency, a printer, and that helps just to keep that consistency as well.
Brilliant. Anne, was there anything in particular that you've done within the business, maybe across the team, to sort of make sure that visual identity is consistent through all your channels?
Well, an example would be the relaunch at Bloom.
Yep.
So our stand at Bloom, it was just so eye-catching when you went around the corner, and like the colours, but everything was true, like the colours and the Pantones, and because it's so important that we could have had the beautiful new bars, and then we could have arrived at Bloom with a different purple or maybe a black stand. So you wouldn't have had that impact, you know, to the consumer. Where, you know, if anybody seen us at Bloom, it was like one of the proudest moments for Anya's Handmade Chocolates, because we were looking at everything visually, and then when it was all put together, it was like, wow. And when I arrived that Friday morning, I was like, I can't believe it, you know, because it was the most stressful thing I probably did in my life was change.
Yes.
You know, because...
And one of the benefits of the programme is that, and we've had moments, you know, as the sort of project coordinator for the particular programme we're talking about, Brand Bite, we had moments where it was a little scary, where it was a little unnerving, where it was a little bit brave, you know, and like talking it through and making sure that it felt right was so important in that journey. And I think that's one of the benefits of being on a programme like this, where, you know, you're in really safe hands. We've got experts like Anita and the rest of the New World team. We have Sharon from a marketing perspective that, you know, wraps us, you know, with cotton wool and takes us through the process. Because like any journey, we're the branding journey is, you know, it's difficult to navigate it. It is a whole area in its own right. So I think just having that programme to help to support brands like Anya's is really important. I know one of the questions that I'm preempting is, how do you get your biggest bang for buck, though? Because when I talk to small artisan producers, they're like, it takes thousands of pounds to build a good brand or to invest in a good brand. I always say it's an investment as opposed to a cost, which is one of the things you need to sort of change the mindset on. But give us some clues as to how you made it work, and maybe I'll start with yourself, Anne, that was cost effective and didn't, you know, end up charging the Sun, Moon and Stars for it?
Well, I think through the SkillsNet program, you had that professional, backing behind you, but you also then knew where you stood. So you had the biggest thing was the logo, and you had your key line there. So then, I suppose the rest of the journey was a lot easier for us as a brand.
So you got your brand book,
Yes,
Blue Book in place. You got the key elements that you needed.
Your Pantones and everything. But when, say, I would have started originally 25 years ago, that would have costed me a lot more money than it costed me on this new brand, because I wouldn't have had the SkillNet's brand and support.
And
there.
just internally, I mean, one of the challenges with doing any kind of rebrand is that you've got the old and the new. And do you sort of just draw a line on the old, but then you're left with maybe 10,000 euros worth of packaging, and we know that packaging is costly. What decision did you make, and what were the kind of considerations that you went through in order to decide what was right for your brand?
Well, I think what our best sellers is our bars. So, we ran out our old packaging, and now we're on our new packaging.
You led in with the bars.
Yeah, we led in. Now, we could have, but, we're part of Virgin Green, we're a gold member, we're a sustainable company. So, and also, I'm from Cavan. So I think
no more needed.
Yeah, we'd all love to not use the old, but I think sustainably, and people do. But for new business and export,
and it's acceptable. And I think if you bring everybody on the journey, whether it be the retailer,
exactly
the
it.
customer,
Yeah.
I think it's totally acceptable. Lorraine, top tips in your space around getting biggest bang for your buck?
Yeah, well, I always want my clients to get the most out of the shoot, because if they are investing in it, I kind of feel very responsible that I want to give them the best, So I would say the planning again, really, really think through your photography. What do you actually need them for? What formats do you need? If you're getting portrait shots and then you're going to put them up on your website, you might need landscape shots. Really, really think through every little detail. Do you need a little bit of space on the photo where you're going to put text? Things like that. And also think ahead. Are you putting your food up for awards? Do you need photos after that?
Yeah.
Killadoon Milk came last year to me before the Bloss Awards, and then they won, and they had their images ready to use.
Absolutely.
And
I
they're
know
beautiful.
for the PR people in the room, they'd say biggest thing is, have you got good imagery to support your press release?
Yeah, the press
absolutely.
releases are huge, so you really
and
need
even if you're
that.
not thinking about a press release,
you'll need it.
You will need it. You will do a press release about
definitely.
something at some stage. Yeah, absolutely. Anita, getting the biggest bang for your buck, what would you recommend?
Look, I think it's finding out your owniness, finding out your unique brand story, and also sticking with it and believing in it as well. Because once you have that brand foundation in place, everything comes from that. So it's just really being true to yourself and sticking to your story as well, and having the confidence to do that, I think, is really important.
Brilliant. I'm getting the flag to wrap up. So I suppose just to throw it out to the audience, is there any particular questions for the panelists here? You have them, so absolutely grab the moment if you can. I also have to say, Anne from Onions has very kindly, wait for it, given everyone in the audience. Did I say that right? Yes. One for everyone in the audience. Sorry, I got it totally wrong. Can we take a cut on that and start again? So Freya's going to kindly hand those out. So please go home. On a day like today, you're going to need a delicious hot chocolate. And do you want to tell us just a little bit about the product you're handing out?
Yeah, so this is a gourmet hot chocolate that you can make at home. And Anya's Handmade Chocolate was the first to develop this. It was a long story about this. Was the recession happened in Ireland and we hadn't one order. We were doing massive big €20 box chocolates, and we had to develop something that was as cheap as a lipstick. So we thought everybody wants gourmet hot chocolate like restaurant style at home, and then the fun of it is to swirl it into a hot cup of milk.
That's fantastic. It's great. So innovation is right in your hands there, and enjoy that. Any questions, Viv, before we wrap up? I've no prizes, unlike the other MCs. So sorry about that. Next time. We're okay. Brilliant. Look, thank you so much.
Honor.
And what was your greatest challenge when you started
Just
business?
mind introducing yourself, Conor. Thank you.
Conor Craven, Head of Enterprise and the local enterprise office in Cavan. Just want to compliment Anne and all the presenters at the panel. Really informative, and branding is key. But how did you deal with and changing from the old brand to the new? Was it emotional? Was it just something you could do easily, or how did you let go?
The old brand was like my fifth child. So, like, I suppose, like you asked me, the biggest challenge starting a business was standing up in the RDS at a show and nobody stopping and saying, she's new. I was like, Jesus, because I didn't have a brand. And that was the biggest challenge starting a business, was not having a brand. You need your brand to start your business. And, it was, but, it's the best thing for the company was changing to this new brand because, from international shows and meeting new buyers, it's like people love it.
And I think probably on the journey, Anne, there was some times where you knew that something wasn't working.
Yeah.
So you were ready for the change, weren't you? Like you understood
Yeah.
that there was opportunities been missed, or you said you weren't showing up in the right way, so it didn't feel right anymore. So you needed that. So it was less emotional then because you were ready to let go. I guess the emotion maybe is what was coming ahead. It was hard to maybe imagine what it was going. And I think you were taken aback when this route was shown to you, because that was not where your head was. Because we all dream about what we think is going to come, and it was very different. But
I was shocked.
Sense.
I was shocked. I had to take a day to digest it. Like, I talk for Ireland, and that day, if you asked the guys in New World, I didn't say one word. I was like totally shocked.
Brilliant. So look, we have to wrap it up. I'm just going to mention again that we're hoping to get funding for the Brand Buy programme for next year. Last year and this year we've had 4 places, so we've had 4 companies go through the programme. If you are genuinely interested, and I say that it's a big decision and you need to be ready for it and it needs to feel right for you, but if you just want to talk it out, Anne has been through the programme, so I always think if you've been through it, the best person to talk. Mairead from Rolla Pastry is at the back of the room there as well, who's also been through the programme, and it'd be great to talk to any of them, or equally come to have a chat with myself or reach out. And fingers crossed, I'm not looking over to my left, but fingers crossed we get the funding signed off next year. No pressure, Bridie. And we'll be rocking and rolling. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Good luck to those who are going back in now to pick up their awards. Thank you very much to our panellists, to Anne, to Lorraine, to Anita. Enjoy the rest of your time at BLOS.
Thank you.
Thank you.